Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Thank you so much for joining Tim and I today for this webinar. Tim mentioned a little bit ago, we haven't done these in a really, really long time. So what better time than now to bring these back and bring everyone together online and just kind of run through some of the questions we get asked a lot and really just run through the basics of what you should know as you're using DISCO as your workflow and productivity tool. So welcome to DISCO 101. This is the first of many. We're just getting started with these, and we're going to do them as often as we can, hopefully every week. So we'll do 101 basics every week, and then we would like to incorporate more intermediate and advanced trainings as we go. Another one that you guys can look forward to, and we invite you to keep an eye out and join us, is we're going to have one specific to our new auto tagging, which, as the street cleaner goes by, sorry y'all. Our new auto tagging, we are so excited about this. It is like a serious game changer. Tim is going to show you guys a little bit about how it works, but we're going to go into more of a deep dive next week on auto tagging. I guess I didn't introduce myself. I'm Katrina, for those of you who haven't met me yet. And Tim is going to lead the training today. I'm going to go through Q&A, but Tim and I are your Los Angeles DISCO team. We handle all North America business development, support, kind of like wear a bunch of hats. So glad to have you all here. And then I have a poll that I'm going to shoot out to everyone. I'm going to hit that now. And we just are curious what your role is in the music industry. Are you a supervisor? Are you creative sync? Are you an artist manager, A&R? Let us know. Kind of fun to see who's joining today. Look at those numbers go. This is fun. Cool. Thank you for doing that. And then another thing I want to point out to just start thinking about as we do more of these events in these like really weird, crazy times, if there's any way that DISCO can support you and bring more content or community events online, we want to know about it and we want to facilitate that. So if you can think of anything that you would like us to do in the near future, in the coming months, write a little comment and we can kind of work together to bring in that stuff to fruition. Before I pass it over to Tim, I just want to make sure if you're following along on your own DISCO that you have the new design launched. So you can see that Tim has his screen up. And if your DISCO doesn't look like this, highly recommend you moving over to the new design so you can follow along with some of the processes that Tim's going to show you today. So there should be like a banner at the top of your DISCO that says we've switched to a new design. Change now, do that. Don't be scared of change. It's going to be great. It's a lot easier to navigate. It's a lot cleaner. So yeah, make sure you do that. And then I think that's about it. I think without further ado, Tim, lead us on a basics training.
Cool. Thank you very much, Katrina.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if you aren't on the new design, just really quickly, you can go into your settings. It will look different from this, but you'd go in and you'll see it says settings and account. And then along the top, you have your different options. So you should see the settings option. And under app settings, I believe, it will say version. And you can choose between the old and the new version of DISCO. So this is the new version. Really quickly before I get started, just to give you all a background on DISCO, in case you really have no idea why you're here or what it is, which can potentially happen. DISCO was created by music supervisors to solve the problem of receiving hundreds and hundreds of emails every day with different ways to download and get files, ways for them to collaborate together in one space, where they can access all of their music and search and build playlists and send them off to their clients, and then see how their clients are accessing them. And obviously getting off of hard drives, off of iTunes, and sort of combined use things like iTunes into Box and then sending Box links. And all the time you lose uploading in that process. So we built it for ourselves as music supervisors, and then the rest of the world started asking what we were doing and turned it into this product that you can use, anyone can now use, just to manage their music files and a few different kinds of workflows. So labels use it, radio pluggers use it, A&Rs, artists, managers, all sorts of different kinds of people. So let's start at the very, very beginning on this far right-hand side. This is where we upload files, because if you have just started, you will have nothing in here. So I'm going to quickly upload a file. Let's see here. So I'm uploading a WAV. Something that's really important for you all to know is that WAV files don't carry any metadata. No matter what you do, they will never carry metadata. And we'll go deeper into metadata later, but you want to add a certain amount of information to your files so that people can get back in touch with you, know what the song is called, and all that kind of information. Let's just add one more just for the sake of this. So let's just say that these are two songs that are part of an EP. So the first thing that we're going to do once this is uploaded is we're going to fix the metadata. And the way that you can do that in Disco is that when you upload waves, Disco makes an MP3 for you automatically. And it's that MP3 that's going to hold any metadata that we add here. And the cool thing is that that's all searchable later. So we've got our two files here. That MPC, this one hasn't created the MP3 yet, it's processing it. See, transcoding. As soon as that's finished, I'll do the next thing. So let's just call this playlist. I will just pretend it's new mixes for my EP. I'm going to just do this a bit from the perspective of an artist for now. All right, so we've got these two files here. If I go over this I can see some information. I'm going to highlight both of them, holding Shift, and then I'm going to Actions, and I'm going to Edit Selected. Because before I save and send this playlist, I want to get some metadata in here. So I'm going to say, you know, artist name, album name, contact me at myemail.com. So, and then we could add some artwork here. So let's do that real fast. So I've just put some extremely basic information on those files. And if I open that up again, I can see this is just one song. I actually want to just change it so that it doesn't have the artist name in the title. That was in the file name of the wave. And I'm just going to call it song title 1. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same for the other song. This is a slightly slow process, but you will get much faster at it very soon. So I've got my two songs that I'm ready to send. I've added artwork, and if I'd put 50 tracks in here, I could have bulk edited all of them from this menu, edit all.
Tim, can I stop you real quick? Just want to interject because we are getting some questions about AIFs. So I thought now is a good time to address that.
Perfect.
So there is a wave to AIF converter in Disco. It is on participating plans, so perhaps you don't see it, but talk to us about implementing that. So what will happen is we won't convert the wave to an AIF until the download is made. So if you go into a tracks menu and you go to download, there's the AIF. And so on the client side, we'll get to that and they will see the similar drop-down option. Now, the cool thing is, once you have the metadata on that MP3, we'll automatically write that to the AIF. So your client will have all of the information on the high-res file.
And just to make, and the point with AIFs, which is great, they are high resolution lossless files like waves, but they do carry metadata. And a lot of the sync world does prefer AIF files, but a lot of the production world is creating waves. Like, you're getting a wave bounced out by your mastering engineer. That's what goes on a CD. And that is something that we all still have to deal with a lot. Hopefully our converter makes life a little easier. We will never backwards convert an MP3 to an AIF or a wave because the MP3's already lost a whole lot of quality. The default transcode rate in DISCO when you change a wave to an MP3 is 160K, which we originally did because it's fast to listen to, they're smaller files, and really it's about carrying metadata. We can set those transcode rates to like 320 and different things like that if you ask on support. Okay, so let's go and continue with this fun process. All right, so I've got my mixes for my EP here, got my songs. Oh yeah, obviously I can play the songs and listen to them. Scroll through on the waveform. That's an important part of DISCO, is just listening to your music. So I'm gonna save this playlist. What is a playlist? That might be confusing some people. And the fact that we're starting by putting files in a playlist before we do anything else. You can think extremely broadly about a playlist as just a folder. It's the first kind of folder that you group files together in DISCO. So that's what it is first, just a folder. And on the right is where you upload into it. And then a playlist is also like a little micro website. That's the thing that we're sharing with our clients once we send out this URL. So you can think of this page as all the settings for what that site's going to look like, where's this playlist going to save in my DISCO library, which we'll get to over here, and various other things. Right now, I want to show you how to make it look customized. You do that with themes. That is imagery on the background of the playlist page. And I'm just going to do really boring images right here really quickly. And there are instructions, see here, for the actual specs that you want to use when you're adding these images. So look, this is a background image and this is a logo image. And this is all about what my playlist will look like when my client opens it. Oh, hi, Holden. Holden's one of our key support people, and he has fortunately joined us. Let's save the theme. And if you have the lyrics in your metadata, which we haven't done yet, then showing lyrics is a helpful tool as well. Okay, let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not going too far. Okay, and then this message area is really helpful. This is just going to sit on the playlist. You're not writing an email to anyone at this point. This is just on the playlist page. And this is great for like a bio or a press release. It can be instructions about the playlist. You can have URLs. So you might link to socials or something here if you are an artist using it for this purpose. At this point, I am going to save this playlist, and we're going to, all these other things we'll cover in other webinars or later on. So I'm saving. When you first join, there is a little tour like this that tells you how to do certain things. It is worth reading it because it helps. For now, I'm just going to skip. So I've saved it immediately. It's given me this URL, which I can share. So this square opens it. This is what your client will see if you share this link. Sorry about that ugly background. That was a very low resolution file. So people do not need Disco to receive these playlists. Anyone with this link can access it, but you have to share this link with them so that they can get it. There's no way you could search and somehow find this music. It's just like it's your Dropbox account. No one can get into it without you sending out a link to it. So what can we do on our public playlist? I've just received this. I can obviously see the theme in the background and this logo area. This is the title of the playlist, or the album, or the single, or the pitch, or the pull, or whatever you want to call it. Here is the message that we wrote, just sitting here. I can play my songs, scrolling through here on the waveform. You can also just start playing anywhere. If there were lyrics in the metadata, then I could click here to read them, which is a really helpful thing as a music supervisor, to be able to see lyrics and later search by those lyrics if a year from now I'm looking for that particular theme. And then we've got our download options. So first there's just the button to get the MP3, but you can see there's my wave and that AIF, and save to Disco. Up the top, download everything. So all of those, there could be 1,000 files here, save to Disco. If you did make an insanely large playlist, it's possible that it won't download if it's over a certain size, which I can't actually remember what that size is. Simply because other people's computers cannot unpack those zip files. So it's worthless to try and send it to them because they're just going to have a zip sitting there. So anyway, we have those restrictions to make sure your clients actually have a good experience. Save to Disco buttons. This immediately adds this playlist into my Disco account if I was the recipient of this and I do have Disco. So that's avoiding the downloading part. We'll come back to that later on. So let's go back over here. So this is where we left the Disco page. We had clicked on this square to open and look at this link. So I'm just going to close this for now. Now let's go back here to browse. So we'll start now on the left-hand side of the screen and go back. What is browse? This is a list of all the playlists that me and my team are saving. So if you do have multiple people with their own logins coming into this account, you might be a band or you're a sync shop, pitching music, you're a record label. This is a great place for collaboration because everybody sees the same thing. This is the playlist that I just created, right at the top of the list. There are filtering options. This is newest. So the most recently saved things at the top. You can change it around. And just to note, this is the playlist view. There is a track view. A lot of people ask us, where did my files go when I uploaded them? Do I have to save them in a playlist? The short answer is no, you don't have to save them in a playlist, but we recommend that you do because there is a reason that you've uploaded those files, and the playlist is the way to essentially recall that reason later, whether it was a bunch of mixes, an album, or whatever. But here I'm in the track view and I can see the most recent files that I uploaded. As soon as I drop files over here on the right-hand side, these will appear in the track view in the browse area. Obviously, you won't see them here in the playlist view because you haven't even saved that playlist yet, that you were just uploading the files on the right, but they do appear in the track view. I hope that is extremely clear. Okay, so back here, I'm looking at the playlist that I just uploaded. Really quickly, I might want to share this now. I've already removed that share area that I immediately got when I saved the playlist, but of course, I can go to the menu for this playlist or any playlist, go to share, Don't worry about any of this right now. I just want to copy the URL, and it's the public playlist URL that I want to copy and send again. That's the fastest thing I can do. If I want to look at the playlist, then I just click there and open it, and here I am back again. So just to, oops, I keep going back there. Just to reiterate how I got there, playlist menu, share. Okay, so there are a lot of other things going on in the playlist menu, like the stats, how people have accessed the playlist. We will go into all that another time. Let's start looking at our songs. Obviously, we know we can play them. If I click on the song, this area, this column opens up to the right where I can see more information. If I hover over the I actually need to set this up right now. So here's a really good setting for you guys as you are setting up your disco. You hover over the I, and I want to customize what I see here and what I see over here. So you go into the settings area on this cog, and down here, I can choose which fields appear on the info hover. So we call that the track hover. So I could remove them and re-add them in the order that I want. Right now, there's really not that much information on these files, so it's not extremely helpful for you. And then this is the next column. While we're here, another really helpful setting is the Explorer column width. That is how wide the columns are in the middle of the screen. We call the Explorer the middle part of the screen. I prefer large. If you're on a big screen, larger. Default just could be a little thin. And then if you want to see a little more, like more tracks and playlists on the screen, then switching from default to compact, which I'm already set on. Okay, so let's just go into something that has a little bit more information. Okay, so looking at this track, I've clicked on it in this column. We're seeing a lot more metadata because it's been added to these files. And here we're seeing what we call native tags. These are on each track where you can set specific tags based on categories. So this little tag icon, which is this actually is the same as this one. Let's do it from here. I want to click on that, and I want to add tags to this track. So I can choose the instruments, different tempo settings, moods and feels, and you can see which ones are selected. I'll also just note, these tags have all actually been added by our AI auto tagging system. That's a whole other conversation, but you can see that these are really useful. So how do we use these tags? We're just starting to talk about searching, right? So I've tagged some tracks and I want to find more songs that are reflective. So I can click on reflective and it shows me all tracks that have been tagged with reflective. And then there's other options here, reflective punk. That's interesting. Okay, cool. You know, and as I find these tracks, I can start dragging things across and build a new playlist. So we're sort of transitioning here into doing a search and creating a new playlist with files that are already in my Disco account. Just want to make sure I'm staying on track here. Let's just quickly go into the metadata on a specific track. So here I am, I want to make some changes about this particular file. So view full track info, that gets us here. So just for this song, I can mess with the metadata. Let's just talk a bit about some of these metadata fields really fast because we're always getting questions. What do I use grouping for? What should be in the comments? So grouping, typically, you want to just say some information about what you control about that song. So here it says it's one stop. That means that this rights holder controls both the publishing and the master for this song, and a music supervisor only has to talk to them to clear it. And then the sync company name, and then some more, like even more clarity here, 100% of the master, 100% of the publishing control. Down in the comments, again, I'm reiterating that this is one stop and the licensing contact is here. Always put your contact information somewhere in the metadata, because it's useless to send files to people and they're like, this is great, but I can't remember who sent it to me and I have no information about the file. Composer information. So putting and listing composers, if it was 50% each. This is extremely helpful information for music supervisors. If you really want to stand out, I highly recommend getting your splits in there. With the genre field, typically we recommend around 3 genres. And you know, your music isn't every single genre. Some people just come in and they literally write every genre in. And that's just going to ruin your relationship with the music supervisor. So just try and be as specific as you can. Think about what they're actually going to look for. Yeah, BPM, those are all helpful. The order, some people ask about this. If this was an album, then this might be track 1 of 10. And so that's how you'd fill out the order on each track. Lyrics. Fill out your lyrics. This is really, really helpful because you can search, because all of this is searchable. I'm not very good at Portuguese, but great, there's a bit more in English here. You know, you can search Disco for any of these metadata fields, including the lyrics and the comments. If you send this file to somebody else, 2 years from now, they might be doing a search for this particular lyric and your song is going to appear. If you never put your lyrics in there, then obviously they would never ever find your song again. So put in the legwork to make sure you've got all this information in the files, because you're doing your future self a massive favor. This comments tab is really just internal. It's for you to add notes about this track. They're also searchable. It does not travel outside of Disco. So that's all I'm going to say about metadata. Just to remind you, you hover over the track, go to the eye, view full track info, and there it is. And you can see, just even hovering on the eye, these are the fields I selected to see. I wouldn't usually put artist and album because I can see that right here anyway. Okay, so we have done a tag-based search. One other thing on native tags, look, I can remove them. I can click that X and get rid of them if I want. That is also helpful. Lastly, in this column, this track appears in one playlist. Let's go into the breadcrumb trail later. Katrina, am I on track?
I hope so. I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest, because there are a lot of questions coming through.
All right.
You guys, this is great. Sorry if I'm a little slow to answer them, but we will try our best, even if we don't get to them all today, to send a follow-up, or of course, join the advanced training. But Tim, you're doing great.
All right,
keep going.
great.
Although people are asking
Are there any specific themes?
A lot of questions about the background adding themes, but I feel like you did cover that. They might have been earlier questions. You were just on searching, right?
Yeah, I'm just about to
okay.
do the search bar.
Perfect. Get into search, because there are a lot of questions about searching for tags. Is search going through all of the metadata, etc.? So.
All right, perfect.
Wait, I'll
so,
jump in real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Anyone who is writing in, also, you can also use the little blue chat bubble in Disco at the bottom right. So I'm on the other side answering those questions as well.
Oh,
so,
cool.
And whether during the webinar or after. But thanks.
Yeah. That is the amazing support response that we're very proud of here at DISCO. There's always someone hiding in the background. Okay, so continuing on the search, we talked about track specific native tags, as in they're native to the track. At least I think that's what it means. I'm going to clear that search. The search bar is your best friend in DISCO. It is looking for any playlist title. That's what all these things are here, playlists. It is looking through every piece of metadata, every lyric, all of the tags. So if I want to try and find, there's not a lot of stuff in this particular disco, I might have to switch to another one. So I'm looking for this album called Deadly Summer Sway. And look at all these tracks, Ready to Die, Spiders. So what if I can think it's the song something about dying and it's by a band called The Checks. So I type in Die and Checks, Ready to Die, The Checks. Wow, there's lots of things that came up, that's interesting. When you combine two different, like you're trying to find that one song, sometimes you'll get too many results. So just add another thing like the artist or the album, or it's rock and it's the song, some kind of combination. You don't need the entire word. You do need more than 3 letters though, that can trip people up. And then you can also do, let's see, is this going to happen for us? Yeah, so subtractive search is really helpful. I actually don't want anything by The Checks, but I want rock. So it's going to remove them from my search results. So you just put a minus sign in front of a term, and that's a Boolean or subtractive search. But for the most part, when you need something, this is why DISCO is really, really, really fast, is because it's indexed all of the data that you put in here. If you didn't put any data in, you're going to have real problems. But ideally, you do take the time to do that. And then everything is really just like right at your fingertips. And this is also great once you're on your cell phone in the app. There is an advanced search area that has many, many different things. I'm not going into it on this particular webinar, but you can explore for yourself. And you can see if you want to choose a specific field. Here are my track tags if I want to start the search with one of these tags. That is super helpful. And there was something. Okay, one other really helpful thing, search results. This isn't very obvious. This menu lets you change the order that your search results appear. So it starts with relevance. There is a machine or a computer somewhere that decided what's most relevant here. You might want to just do it artist A to Z. You guys say Z in this country, Z. Yeah, newest to oldest, release date, if you've got a release date field. So that's a quick look at searching, but really, honestly, all you need is just straight to the search bar and you should find what you want. Unless you've got 10,000+ tracks, you'll get exactly where you need to go. A really quick note here on starred. When I hover over these tracks, see they've all got, the star is black, it's filled in. Whereas if I'm over here, there's things where they haven't been starred. It's like favoriting. What is not clear here is that it's just for you. So if you have a team and you star something, they don't actually see it. It's like your starred area is unique to your own login. The browse area is shared. In old DISCO, browse was called team library and starred was called my library. So we really might need to add my favorites or my starred here. Okay, just to reiterate a few things, just to wrap ourselves around. I'm in browse. These are all the playlists that me and my team are creating. You can tell it's a playlist because it has a title. It's got some initials, that's the creator's initials, the date of creation, and you click on a playlist, you can see tracks. You know they're tracks because they've either got artwork or the big play sign appears. I'll also just note, you can put photos, videos, documents, like any kind of file or media file can be put in Disco and played back if it's a video, previewed if it's a PDF or a photo. Let's think about organization. This is one of the most confusing things, I think, for a lot of people in Disco. Channels are folders. Thank you. They are the place that you organize and put things into some kind of order. You would have noticed that browse is just a list. It just goes and goes and goes forever, and it constantly updates, and a lot of people want to know, well, how do I organize this list? It's really messy. The browse can be insanely messy because you only see a few things at a time. Down here in the channels, you can create order. How do I even create a channel in the first place? Plus. Yeah, let's just call it writers. You could create a channel, you can choose who manages it, who can see it. If you've got a lot of team members, they don't need to see every channel. Okay, so there's my writers channel, and I can start adding playlists and tracks to it. Just looking at the structure here, you can create folders inside of your channels. And you can see inside here, I've got 2 albums. The albums are playlists. I don't want to go deeply into it, but just generally put playlists into the channels. It's better than just dragging songs into the channels. Playlists are really the place you want to store tracks and files, and then you just organize them into some order with channels. How do I add subfolders? Just like that. So I'm adding these subfolders into the library channel. That is actually exactly the same as this menu here for the most part. Add a subfolder, and you can rearrange the order of things. The pitch log is a channel you might want to create. As you pitch playlists, you might want to save them into your pitch log. If, for example, you were sending a pitch to a music supervisor. How do I add it? Just drag it on top. That's about as far as I want to go with channels. It's super, super flexible. So however you want to organize things, you can. I would recommend not doing billions of channels, have a few major themes, and then put subfolders inside of them to organize things more clearly. Let's jump to inboxes. Inboxes are what close the Disco ecosystem, or the other side, right? You're building things and you're sending them out the door to pitch your files to all sorts of different kinds of people. They do not need Disco to receive what you send them. But if they have Disco, that is where they can start to save a lot of time. So for all the music supervisors that might be listening and watching, let's look at inboxes. So we've got a team inbox, same idea with this thing about it being for collaboration. Everyone on my team can see what is in this particular inbox. So these are all playlists that have been received. Excellent stuff. I can, let's see here what I want to do. Okay, yeah, really critical with the inbox is that it has an upload page. So if I click here, inbox URL, this is what you send out to people when you need to receive files from them. So instead of them sending you a file in a text, or some files in an email, or a Dropbox, or a box, or a WeTransfer, or mail, an envelope, you can open up this page and send it to them. So what are they going to do when they receive this? If they don't have Disco, they just drop the files on here, fill out their name, their email, name the playlist something. So this could be a mastering engineer delivering the new album. It could be a sync company sending files for a particular search to a music supervisor. So that playlist name you're going to want to make, or hopefully they will make relevant. We tell music supervisors that when they're using this, so they brief out, hey guys, I need music for this Coke commercial that I'm working on. Please upload it on this page and name the playlist Coca-Cola dash your company name. So Coca-Cola, however you spell that, dash Sony Music. And that way, when that music supervisor receives these playlists in their inbox, it's just a list, Coca-Cola, 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 who's it from, who's it from, who's it from, who's it from, and it makes it really easy to organize. That's just one quick thing. You can write a message if you were uploading on this page to a music supervisor. Now, all of you actually have DISCO or maybe are about to get DISCO. So you can completely avoid this uploading if you have received this page from a music supervisor or somebody that wants to get files from you. You simply build your playlist in DISCO, get the URL, and then just click here. Send your own playlist. Copy your DISCO playlist URL here, and then you'll continue. And don't forget to hit send at the bottom. And that will immediately shoot your playlist off to their inbox. So you've avoided uploading on this page. They've avoided downloading. Let's just go into this one. They're in their inbox. And here are all of the playlists that are coming in. Actually, no, stay over here. This inbox, so team inbox, this one is your personal inbox that only you can see. If you click Save to DISCO on a playlist that you have received from somebody else, it will end up in your personal inbox right here. Notice this one also has an upload page, but it's a different upload page from the team inbox because each one is directing to the specific inbox. And you can get into custom inboxes if you want. That's a whole other conversation. All right. Let's go to, and just do a couple more things. So let's go over here. This is a pitch that we've been building. You didn't even notice, but I was building a pitch here for Coca-Cola 2020. I'm going to show you the sections, even though I wasn't going to. Add a section. I want to break up this playlist into folders. This is a super common question. Maybe it's just for the instrumentals. Let's put this down here. And look, I can just rearrange everything by dragging and dropping. So this is actually a folder called instrumentals now. Other things you may end up doing is giving budget options or genre options. So here are some rock tracks. And here are some hip hop tracks. And again, you just drag everything around. So let's see what this looks like now that I've added sections to this playlist. Again, we're saving. That gets us to the save pop-up. Here's another option. I'm going to make this one streaming only, no download links. I'm showing the lyrics. And look, I've got the add to channel option here. I'm going to save this to my pitch log. So when you click on here, you can search for whatever you're looking for. I want the checks folder. So I'm in library, catalog, the checks. Okay, so let's save, open the playlist. Notice there are no download buttons anywhere, and I've got these 3 sections. And that's when I can see the tracks. And these have lyrics. All right, so I want to round out a circle here. I've created a playlist. I go back to browse. I refresh it. That's the playlist that I just created. I realize that I want it to be downloadable and I actually don't want this track in there. So I have to edit the playlist. Here, this pen is the edit playlist option. And there is also an edit playlist option in my menu. Let's click the pen. It's going to come back to the right. So the playlist creator is where all editing and changes happen. I cannot pitch this track. So I hit the X to remove it. And I need to get rid of that section. And you know, I don't need this rock section anymore. Okay, so I've removed things with the X. Notice I did not come to this menu and choose to delete the track, because if I did that, it would be removed from any playlist that I ever put this track in, and that's not helpful. Save. I'm editing the playlist. I'm changing the settings as well. I no longer want this to be streaming only, so I uncheck that. Save playlist. I don't even need to open this again. I can just go straight here. Where are you? I'm going to refresh this page. It's immediately updated. Your playlists are live. So if you change things about them, the recipient just needs to refresh to see those changes. That's a really important thing to understand. And now I have my download options back. All right, great. We're refreshing, we're editing playlists, we've added a section. I'm gonna call that a day. Katrina.
Oh my gosh, you guys, you really had me work for the morning. That was so many questions. I still have 61 open. Wow. I'm glad you guys have so many questions though. Let's go through a couple that I kind of left because I thought they were good. Okay. Well, actually, you know, a lot of people are asking, is it possible to have my catalog searchable to supervisors or other folks? Do you want to talk about that, Tim, while I go through some other questions? Cool.
Yeah, so currently the answer is no. Disco is just yours to manage all your files and easily access them and send them. But in April, that's this month, later in April, with everything going to plan, and not everything in the world is currently going to plan, we are releasing what we call client libraries, and those are going to be little sites that you can create, and it's like going to have a whole other little interface area in here that you will be able to essentially choose which assets are in it and have featured playlists, featured tracks, artist pages, and things like that. And you can share that site with any of the supervisors or clients so that they can come at any point and search whatever you've put there. And it will, you know, use native tags for searching. They can search different metadata fields, but that is a way that you'll be able to make your Disco searchable to others without them actually logging in here. It will have two different options around restrictions. So people may land on it and search and play tracks, but if they wanted to download anything, they'd have to log in. The really cool thing about this is that they will, once they have a login, they'll either just use their Disco login. You would have to give them permission to have access to your particular library, but then they'll be able to use the same login on any Disco client library within the known universe. Yeah, so that is the first stage of making Discos, I guess, outward facing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that someone asked if that would be included in plans or not. That would be an add-on to your base subscription, as well as the auto tagging, which a lot of people have been like, tell me more, tell me more. So we're gonna do a full-fledged training run through of auto tags next week. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll really deep dive into that. Let's see. Oh, a lot of questions on how do I upload from Box, Dropbox, SongSpace, Source Audio, etc.
So depending, yeah, would you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Go for it.
So Box and Dropbox is quite easy for us to help you migrate that over. Lovely Holden, wave, he will do it. He will help you. He's the master of importing catalogs. Your metadata will transfer over with it. We will help you rebuild any existing playlists that you have. With systems like SyncTank, Source Audio, it's also quite easy for us to pull that music in. SongSpace is a little bit tricky. There is a way to do it, but it's a lot more manual. But you can just write to us and we will help you figure out the best way to migrate your catalog in. But know that we will hold your hand through the process. It's not scary. It won't take too much time, depending on a lot of variables, but it's usually quite straightforward.
There was a question just really quickly there. Some people might be confused about keeping playlists in channels as opposed to just putting songs in channels. And the real main reason for that, which we didn't really go deeply into, is the breadcrumb trail. It's another part of searching, but when you click on a song, it shows all the playlists that that song is in, and you can go into those playlists to find other songs and then see the playlists that those songs are in. So this one's in 10 playlists. And I can scroll backwards and forwards down this breadcrumb or rabbit hole from songs to playlists to songs. If you only put songs into channels and folders in channels, they will not participate in this search because it's specifically about playlists and songs. So I just wanted to clarify that really fast. But we'll actually go deeper into the breadcrumb trail in more advanced webinars.
Yeah, and we will also go deep into the email creator, which a lot of people are pinging about that. So stay tuned for a training just devoted to that. A lot of people are also inquiring about our iOS app. They can't find it in the App Store because it's not there yet, but we submitted, we're just waiting. We do have an early access app you can access it from.
You can ask us for access
just,
to
yeah,
it.
just write to us and we can give you that link to join it.
It's not on Android yet. That's going to take more time to develop, just so you know. And it is in beta, but it is amazing and we love it.
Yeah, it is great.
I wanted just to quickly show that you can see stats on a playlist. If you go to the menu, playlist stats, I'm not going to say how we got all these people in here, but look, streams, 2 streams, those are the songs that were streamed. Track downloads, hover over the numbers, 1 track download. So yeah, that's a thing on stats, and you can just access those from any playlist menu after you've sent it.
There's also a question on if you, on the playlist page, public playlist page, if your recipient chooses to download everything, can you choose if they download an MP3 or high res? And yes, you can, as Tim is showing you.
Yes, so they have the option here, more formats and options, and they can choose. Yeah, they can, whichever combination of things they want. There is a setting as you save a playlist to choose formats, but we are going to do that in another webinar, just to not, because it can
more
be confusing.
Advanced. Yeah. Ooh, here's a good question. What's the difference between DISCO and Source Audio?
Great question. I think Disco is more lightweight and sort of faster moving. Source audio feels more in the production library world. It's been around for way longer than Disco. Some companies use both systems for different purposes, but essentially you can manage data and files, find them and send them with any of these sorts of systems. So it comes down to your preference, what the outside world is asking for. I know that big studios have they use Source Audio as well to manage all the libraries that they have access to, and so doing deals like that, sometimes that is helpful. Our client library setup is starting to work towards that world where people can have an outward-facing searchable library, which is more helpful in the production universe, I think. But as far as all the data, we didn't go into custom fields. That's a whole other conversation. But you can store all the same kind of data and information and find it in Disco as you can in a Source Audio as well. But I think that you basically have to demo both platforms and to figure out for yourself, you know, what the differences are and the advantages to either system.
Did you touch on shareable channels?
I did not.
Okay, there is a question about how can you send multiple playlists in one link?
Yeah, so that is when you would share a channel. What we don't want to confuse, and so this is another important thing.
This is advanced. Sorry, we're getting into it now.
We're getting into a bit advanced here. If you're on certain plan levels, higher plan levels, you will have the option to share a channel. And I'm just going to show you what this looks like. Frankly, shareable channels are semi-helpful. So I can say, here's my channel, here are my folders, here are the playlists in the channel. And you can share, sorry, I keep going to the wrong one. You can share just one of these folders as well. Don't put songs into one of these folders and then share it though. There's no stats. You will not get any stats if you do that. And channels themselves aren't generating stats. It's only in playlists when tracks are accessed that you would see access stats. So songs should be in playlists. Playlists should be in channels if you are going to use them to share. I just want to make that clear. But that's what shareable channels are essentially, yeah.
Cool. We're almost hitting our hour mark. One last question. How many music supervisors are using Disco currently? We actually just took an inventory of this week, and there are close to 600 music supervisors on the Disco platform, which is great because I was saying less than that. So I'm glad we figured out the right number.
Yeah, and growing every day.
And growing, yeah.
So
a lot more questions in here, you guys. Thank you so much. We're going to comb through those and try and get to answering all of them. If I can figure out a way to kind of compile those and send with the recording as well, I will. I feel like you can maybe do that. We'll find out. But again, we will send a recording of this to everyone. Look out for more webinars in the coming weeks. Please join us. And again, if there's anything that Disco can do to support you guys and bring the community together right now in the coming months, let us know. We want to be there for you.
And there have been, I noticed there are some requests here, like just doing a publisher's webinar, just doing a supervisor's webinar and that kind of thing. So yeah, we're definitely planning that sort of thing, to spread it to different use cases for sure.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you're like, I wish you touched on that more, or ways to make this better for you, again, let us know, because we've been a little rusty on these webinars, but I think this went great. So much information to cover, so much more to go through. So thank you guys again so much. So glad to have you part of the DISCO community, and hope you're all staying healthy and safe out there.
Yeah, and it's also just, all you have to do is get in there and use it lots, because there's a lot of learning barriers to get past, and we just find that people that spend concentrated time very quickly get across it. And of course, write to our support team through the chat with your questions, and obviously any technical issue, they will support you immediately.
All right, everyone, enjoy your Friday. Have a fun weekend. We'll see you later.
See you all. Cheers.
Bye.